What is up, players? Today we're going to be painting Drukhari skin, dark Eldar skin tones. It's a little bit different from my how to paint vampire skin tones, as these are still alive creatures of flesh and blood. Now they are a little sickly, they don't get much of that good sun down in Camorra, but they do have that dark Eldar space elf looking paleness to them. So these are for also the more athletic witches. But you can also use this for like the racks, and I'll tell you how right now. If you use this for any of the flesh crafted creatures, then just follow this recipe as I lay out, and don't go back with the second glaze of Rakeland Flesh Shade. Keep them pale with the first application of Rakeland Flesh Shade and the Drakenhof Nightshade in the recesses, and they're going to look absolutely sickly. Maybe even add in some purple Drukhari Violet to make them look even more disgusting, but that's a video for a different day. This video I'm showing you the Supreme Gladiatress Maevia model. I'm going to put a link down below in the description so you can check her out for yourself. She is a beautiful resin model from RTLW Miniatures, and she is meant to emulate Games Workshop's Lady Lilith Hesperax, shown here in plastic. But when I was deciding which model to show this technique on, I decided I would much rather go with the beautiful Supreme Gladiatress here. The plan is I'm going to also be doing tutorials for her bodysuit and the armor and her hair, so you're not going to have to worry about like, why does the model look like this? I'm just showing you how to do a great looking dark Eldar spooky space elf skin tone, and later on we'll be coming back with how to do her face and makeup and all of those other components. So if you're looking at painting a Drukhari model, it's going to go a lot faster than this video, but I'm really showing you my full technique and the reasoning behind it, which is why it's a little lengthy. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy it. And like I said, if you do want to check out this model, I've got the link below in the description for her Supreme Gladiatress Maevia, but also the bundle that she comes in where you can save some money and also get some succubus models and a full squad of 10 witches. They just look absolutely amazing, and nobody is going to know where they're from unless you tell them, because I don't think that they are as widespread as I hope they can be, and I hope we can spread the word on how beautiful these models are. They're so characterful, and they're so beautiful to look at. So thanks for watching, everybody. Let's get on with the tutorial on how to paint dark Eldar skin. All right, players, so the first color we're going to be using is Wraithbone. It's a Citadel color. Up until the release of this color, the go-to skin color for any kind of elf or even vampire would have been Rakarth Flesh. Back in the day, it was Deneb Stone. But Wraithbone is a beautiful pale color. It's got great coverage. So as long as you thin down your paint just a little bit on a wet palette, then you will be able to get a great effect and not have any unsightly paint stroke marks. Again, I'm using the Supreme Gladiatress Maevia Gladiatress miniature from RTLW Miniatures. If you'd like to purchase one for yourself, then the link is going to be down below in the description. It is an affiliate link, so you'll be supporting my studio if you do decide to go out and purchase yourself one of these miniatures. It's obviously trying to call to mind the Drukhari character of Lilith Hesperax. Trying to see where her leg ends and her armor begins. I think it goes something like that. I'm still getting used to working with a white primer. I usually go with a black or a dark gray primer, especially if a model is predominantly dark, but since this model has so much skin, I didn't want to be working up from a black or dark gray. So it's easier to paint the skin on and to see where everything is. It's such a beautiful model. If you're afraid of working with resin, if you're not used to working with resin, if you haven't worked with many Forge World or other resin miniatures, don't let that put you off from getting this figure. It is absolutely gorgeous. This model, I'm not planning on doing a full tutorial with her, but I am going to be using her to make a series of tutorials for anyone who paints Dark Eldar. So after I'm done with this Dark Eldar skin tutorial, I'm going to do a tutorial for her hair. And then for the Dark Eldar Drukhari armor, which is a very beautiful black with dark green tones to it. All right, so we are going to let that sit and come back in just a second to start adding the shades. So the first shade we're going to use is actually Rakelin Flesh Shade. So give that a good shake, and when you're ready, get some on your brush. You don't want too much because even though there is a bit more skin on this model than others, we want to have a little bit of control with where that Rakelin Flesh Shade is going to go. So I'm going to start with her feet and just work our way up the miniature. Some of this we're going to have to come back to because it's stocking, it's leg armor. So just look for the parts that you've already painted. And it might look a little heavy, a little dark. Don't worry about that though. Just keep it moving. Let it find the recesses and let it move where it wants to. The trick with this wash, as with all Games Workshop washes, is that you want to make sure it doesn't pool in any of the recesses. So even though we want it to get in there to create that shading and that depth, we don't want it to get too dark. So when you see it looking like it's pooling a little too much, then all you have to do is move it around with the tip of your brush. If your brush is getting too heavy, then just take that brush and dab it on some paper towel or some Kleenex and come back, sop up more of that flesh shade. This model has such a good high quality sculpt to it that you can see all the musculature. You can see the expression on the face. This is just, if you haven't seen the unboxing of this miniature, this is one of 3 options for the face. There's a helmeted option, or a masked option rather. And then there's one where she's kind of scowling, but I really like this one as it shows a little bit of character with her sticking out her tongue making a cheeky expression. Here we go. So we're going to let this dry for a bit, and then we're going to come back with our Drakenhof Nightshade. All right, now the shades have dried, and we're going to be getting on to the next step of the Drukhari skin here, which is Drakenhof Nightshade. This is a very dark shade color, so you're going to be adding a little bit of water and mixing it up on your wet palette. I would go 1-to-1 maybe, so that you get an equal amount, and just glaze it over the skin. It's not really going to be a glaze because it's a wash, but you don't want it to be pooling too much. It's so dark, so dark. But we want this dark blue shadow to be deepening the natural shadow of the Reikland Flesh shade. The point is, we want the blue to give the more natural, human-looking skin a bit of alien like look. It's not unhealthy because that if you did like a purple wash, then it would look kind of sickly. It's more mysterious, alien, unfathomable. And the trick with this is you have to have a way to turn your model so that you can get all of the different directions. You don't want there to be an unpainted area where there is no blue shading and you have only the natural looking flesh shade. You need to see that blue shade everywhere. Too much, too much. You get too much shade on any one area, just load it back onto your brush and then wipe your brush off on like a napkin or paper towel. If you have to, dip your brush into your water. That way you will be able to like get the brush to pool and dilute itself on your brush. When you're working on the face, you want to make sure it doesn't pool by the nose, under the ears, under the chin. But you do want to get a good amount anywhere where the skin meets the hair, and that will create a nice little blue shadow. All right, that is what we're going for. So we're gonna let that dry. Yeah, every witch model that you use this technique on is gonna look different. And with the witches too, they've got like leggings with weird spaces and gaps along the legs where their skin is showing through. So you don't want to overload your brush with blue Drakenhof Nightshade, because what happens is that you dip it into that area where the skin is showing, and what it actually ends up doing is filling up that entire space with that blue Drakenhof Nightshade. Then you completely lose the skin tone. Right, that looks a little better. All right, we'll let her dry and then we'll come back to get to work on the highlights. All right, we gave her some time to cure and get nice and dry again, so we're gonna get back to work by building her right back up to Wraithbone. I usually don't go straight back to the base color if the base color is this bright, being Wraithbone, but in this case I'm going to do it all right. We gave her some time to dry, so now we're going to get right back on that painting horse with Wraithbone. Now Wraithbone as a base color is great coverage, and nice, beautiful pale skin tone. After having gone through two shades, the Rakeland Flesh shade and the Drakenhof Night shade, going right back to it is going to be a little tricky. So you want to make sure that your brush isn't overloaded. You want to wipe off most of that Wraithbone. You do also want to put it on a wet palette or something that you can dilute it with some medium, like a water or something. And then we're going to start with your toes. Bring her right back up. Still, even that is too much. The problem might also be this brush is a little big, but it's a little big, but okay. Now it's a little bit difficult to see, but when you're highlighting up your evil dark Eldar skin tones back to where they should be, you follow the muscles. And with this RTLW miniature, it's very easy to follow the muscles because the sculpt of these miniatures is so great. And even if you pick the clothed option, you don't go with the naked torso, you can clearly see where the muscles go, which direction they go. So you're just really simply layering the color back up. Let's see if I've got a better brush. There's no shame in going back to your tool set. Now the trick, the secret of painting or highlighting skin tones is that when you're going back to your model, you want to, like, see how there's this big deposit of blue right under her cheek, her left cheek there? What I'm gonna do is work my way towards that blue and I'm not starting there, I'm actually working my way up towards it. And then just trying to make it go from a big puddle into more of a line, like a selective highlight. Then, okay, so I'm gonna use her cheek as an example. There's a lot of shade, right? And you're highlighting with a very bright base color. So thin down your paint, start from the center, and just make little dots, and then slowly push the paint outward. Do that with the right cheek too. Paint her feet. Now, using your, just look at the shades. You can see where the shades dried to create a very natural looking, like athletic torso, rib cage, this whole area. We're gonna be working with those lines. So like I said before, you start at the center where it's a nice wide area and just make little dots and then push those dots out. Just keep repeating that motion. And slowly feather that paint outward. Just working my way up her back, and then down her right arm, starting at the muscles in her shoulder. Again, I'm just following where the shading is. Then her bicep. And try to stay away from where the shading is accumulated. You're going to just let that be a natural looking shadow. And you're just pushing your wraithbone paint right up to it, but not interfering. Not getting in the way of those shadows. Right, yeah, and like I said, having a wet palette nearby or some palette paper is going to be a huge help. You don't want to paint right straight out of the bottle. Okay, now when we get to the face, this is the best part. This is the part I love painting the most. When you get to the face, start by going at the ears, work your way in. Then I'm going up here at the forehead, painting the brow, the ridge, and then working my way down to where her cheekbones are, and then just tracing around the mouth, and then working up the jawline. That's it. The other side. My way around the cheeks, then down the jawline, and painting the ear. Then we meet the forehead at the center, dab down the bridge of the nose, hit the chin. Don't worry about the lips so much because we're going to be painting the lips. And there you go. Now she looks a little harsh because we went right back to Wraithbone, which is a very pale color, but you could see that it does look really nice. If you want to go back down, then I would suggest going back down with the Rakelin Flesh Shade. Just because it's more natural. That blue tone from the Drakenhof Nightshade is going to stay there. But let's just say, I think her face is a little too pale. So we'll just very gently color it back in just a little bit. So there's not so much of a sharp jump between that Wraithbone. I'll do the same for the rest. This is almost like a light glazing where we're just dulling down that super bright color. Down here in the back of the legs. If it looks too chalky or too powdery, that's what this whole thing is for. I'm going to be painting this, like her thong thing. Here I'm going to be painting that in like a purple. But for now, because I do want her to look kind of sickly, that dark Eldar, sickly whole aesthetic, where they look very, very pale. Just trying to really glaze it over all of her open skin areas. So it's tricky because if you just do one layer of Wraithbone and then hit it with Rakeland Flesh Shade and just leave it, or just build it back up but don't do the second Rakeland Flesh Shade, then you're gonna see those dark pools, those dark lines. It's the adding of that second Rakeland Flesh Shade glaze that is gonna make your model pop out. Now I know it's hard to tell because the rest of the model hasn't been painted in yet, but if you're painting Dark Eldar skin, Drukhari skin, then this is the best way to make them not look ghostly pale, to give them a little bit of character, a little bit of color, but still have that sickly look with the blue undertones underneath. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a comment down below and hit that like button. I'm going to be doing more videos where I show you how I would paint up her bodysuit, her armor, her hair, and then also maybe even do a how to paint orc skin and just use this poor boy as an example for how to paint orc skin. But that is how I paint my Dark Eldar or Drukhari skin. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Was this helpful to you? And I hope it was. Maybe I'll do a video later on faces, because finishing this face is going to be a little bit different there with the eyes and the makeup that I would do just to make her not look so severe. But that's going to be later. If you're just painting Dark Eldar skin and you want to know how to do it, then this is my method. And it's always worked for me, and I hope it works for you as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're interested in the RTLW Miniatures Supreme Gladiatress Maevia, the link to that is down below in the description. Check it out. It's an affiliate link, so you're going to be helping out the studio if you do purchase anything. And I thank you for your support. We'll see you in the next video.